Bendiciones. Hello, everyone. That's right. Subscribe to Cafecito Break. Tell La Familia that we are here presente, here with the New York Freedom Fighters. Co-hosting this space with me today is Cozy at Cozy's Wellness, Mark at Mark for NY, and you can follow yours truly, Rosangel Pérez, one of the Pérez sisters, host of Cafecito Break at Cafecito Break on social media platforms. Tonight, our special guest is Janine AcquaFredda, who is running for Brooklyn Borough President. And before I introduce our cute, adorable little faces, please, if you're tuning in, help us warm up the feed, share, like, comment, tell a friend, bring a friend. We're ready? Let's do it. All right. And, before we started, we had 3. And now we have 4. Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Sound check, sound check.
We hear you loud and clear.
All right. So, hello, welcome, Janine, and welcome, Mark. Mark, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So I'll pass it on to you if you can introduce yourself, and then pass it on to Cozy, and then Cozy can introduce our special guest tonight, who is Janine AcquaFredda, running for Brooklyn Borough President. Common sense choice candidates here this season in New York. Mark?
Hello, fellow freedom-loving Americans. Mark for NY here. Ran for State Assembly, City Council, U.S. Senate in New York. Just try to stay involved in politics, help other candidates, and keep people motivated to stop the communism from happening in New York. I'll keep my introduction brief, and I'll pass it on to fellow freedom fighter Cozy at Cozy's Wellness.
What's going on, everybody? Cozy from Cozy's Wellness. I'm a former healthcare worker that was fired for refusing the COVID shot. I've been in a medical freedom fight for almost 2 decades now, fighting for our rights to say no to things we don't want to put in our body. So I've been doing whatever I can to spread that message. Enough about me. Today we have a very special guest, and I'm excited to bring her on. She is running for Brooklyn Borough President, Janine AcquaFredda. I don't know, you're going to correct me. AcquaFredda, I'm sorry. And tell us about yourself.
AcquaFredda is right. And that's not the worst that I've been called. So that's fine. AcquaFredda, whatever. I am running for Brooklyn Borough President. I'll call myself a freedom saver, because we still have a little bit of freedom left, like that much. But we're losing it very quickly in every arena of life, and it's really scary. And I am, I guess, running for many, many reasons, but ultimately it's because I feel like nobody's working for me. And I think that it's important that somebody represents the real people of New York City, like the working people, the neglected and forgotten people, and reluctantly doing politics, if you will.
Yeah, just what made you want to run for Brooklyn Borough President? Like what like pushed you to say, you know what, that's it, I'm getting in the ring?
I was asked for many, many years to run for office. And I was a no, like, don't even look at me, ask me again, like, no, this is not my thing. I'm not a political person. I'm not combative, I'm not confrontational. But little by little, I was, we're talking about freedom, right? Little by little, freedoms were being taken away from me. They tried to shut my business down twice in 5 years. Obviously, the vaccine thing was a big thing for me as well, even though I wasn't mandated to take it. If I wanted to live any sort of a life, I was forced to take it, which I ultimately did. But, I was just waking up every day and complaining about everything. And I got to the point where, complaining was just not doing anything for me. So why just keep, being negative and complaining? Might as well do something. So I was asked at a time where I was ready, personally and professionally, to take it on. I knew it would be a big deal. I don't think I realized how much of a big deal it's become. But at the end of the day, what made me say I'm running was them trying to shut my business down and feeling like I was being penalized for doing all the right things.
Rose Angel? Oh, Mark?
Yeah, what made you? I mean, there's the city council elections, there's public advocate, there's numerous elections. What made you choose the borough president, and what makes you the best candidate?
So I was asked to run for city council, and I said no. I don't want. I'm not like a legislator. Like, to me, I didn't feel like really telling people like what to do, in a sense, right? Like, this is the law. Like, that's just, it didn't seem like the right fit for me, for my personality, for the type of person that I am. So I jokingly said, if I'm going to put my entire life on hold and my business and put myself out there, then I want to run for mayor. Like, nothing else seemed to be worth it to me. I know you're laughing. That's the reaction I got. They're like, Janine, you're wild. Like, you'll never. That's like just a ridiculous thought. And then somebody said, "What about borough president?" And I immediately said no, because I still thought Marty Markowitz was our borough president, and I love Marty Markowitz. I said, "No, I don't want to go against Marty." And then I realized Marty wasn't our borough president. I realized I had no idea who our borough president was, and I said, "All right, you know what? It seems like a better fit for my personality." And you asked, why would I be a good borough president? It's very ceremonial. I love to have a good time. I love to celebrate things and people and life and culture and Brooklyn. I'm Brooklyn's biggest fan. Everybody always used to say I'm Brooklyn's biggest cheerleader. I adore this borough. I love so many things about it. Things have changed a little bit over the years, but I think it suits my personality very well. And a big part of the role is land use and development. And my background is in real estate and development, almost 20 years in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I met Marty Markowitz at a Brooklyn Cyclones game in the Skybox when he was almost terminally limited out, but he's been going for a while. It was actually Eric Adams after him, and then
I had no idea.
Yeah, but
I had
either
no
way.
idea. I live in the area where Marty lives, so I still see him all the time, and he just walks around like he's still the borough president, handing pins to people and like acting like he's still the borough president. And to be honest, I wasn't a very political person. It's something that I didn't really care to get involved. I didn't realize the cost, the price of not getting involved. But I was just very busy trying to stay afloat and keep my business going and pay my bills, So I wasn't politically inclined or active at all. Civically active, yes. I would do a lot of charities and sponsor things and do whatever I could for the community. But I didn't pay attention to politics at all.
Yeah, the majority of people in New York know who the president is, who the mayor is, and that's it. So when I'm not holding that against you. So it's actually pretty common, and we don't have the voter turnout is actually very low. So, but hopefully that changes in the future. But
now I know too much. Now I know too much. I wish I didn't know as much as I know, to be honest.
Yeah. But you're out there fighting the good fight, and I'll pass it to Rose Angel, who hasn't asked a question yet.
The gentlemen can feel, Janine, when I'm itching for a question. I wanted to share that I don't think that it's too much to say, even when you said, well, I'll run for mayor, or when then you decided for Brooklyn Borough president. Because first, we need common sense people. We need people who are professional. We need people who are visionaries. We need people who know Brooklyn. We know people who are native. We need people who know about small business. We need people who know a little bit about budgeting. We need people who have that edge too and are not afraid of speaking. And since you announced this, I was aware that you were running and you announced, and I've seen how you are moving. There's no doubt in my mind that this is something you're taking very seriously, and I completely wish you the best of success, because I know that you can be successful at anything that you set your mindset to, and you're already demonstrating it by how you're running your campaign. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. It's definitely, I have a learning curve. But as anything else in my life, I was not knowledgeable or experienced or even ready for half of the things that I've done in my life. And so I'm glad I didn't try to run for mayor. I think running for borough president is a pretty big deal. It would have been much easier to run for city council, but I think this was the right choice. I really, really do.
And also, too, I appreciate the having the understanding of real estate, which is, where I come in from. My community activism experience is niched in the affordable housing, right? So at one point, I was one of those community members convinced that this lottery system was working, and for some people it has, but I got chewed out by too many New Yorkers who were seeing, for example, that other people were able to move into certain other buildings and there were less checks and balances. And it seemed like for them to even be considered to be a part of this lottery system seemed like they had to climb a mountain, prove so much. And at the same time, it's not fair that depending on where you live, the territory extends to some very wealthy places that gets sort of like the summation of how that the when people are like, how is this affordable housing? How is this rent for a studio? And part of it is because the math is not just the math of the local neighborhood. It extends a little further. And having that insight, that vantage point, I learned a couple of things. I learned that having partners at the HPD was tricky, and that people weren't moving fast enough. We learned through my boss at that time that he needed to stay on top of what they promised, because all of a sudden they would do a quiet rollout, and the community that was supposed to be, considered were all of a sudden, oops, we released it. What a mistake that was, an oversight. And then, when you keep seeing this become a trend in New York City politics, for example, everyone just has like a little oversight, like, a different subject for another day. But a lot of New Yorkers are still wondering what happened to that money when de Blasio was around, right? That Thrive NYC money, if I'm not mistaken, was. So this is what I mean. I'm excited when I meet candidates like yourself. What have you been hearing from people when you're coming across Brooklynites? What are they saying to you? Are there frustrations? Are they feeling like their needs are being met? What is the temperature that you're getting from the folks in the street?
So I am not surprised at what I'm hearing, because what I'm hearing from people are my frustrations, that every decision that's being made hurts us. Every policy that's being pushed makes life more expensive, harder, more confusing, impossible, stressful. None of these bills that are on the table, none of these policies that are being pushed, none of these laws that are being passed help us in any way. They're not. All these buildings that are going up, it's not making housing any more affordable. So who are these politicians really working for? They are working against our best interest. And this is the part that I wish I didn't know, because I like to believe that people are good by nature and that people get into these roles to help. But what I'm seeing is, quite frankly, disgusting. It's like and maybe I'm just naive, but like they seem to be working in their best interests, and they seem to be backed by people who want you to think that they're working for your best interest, like all of the political action committees, all the lobbyists, all the NGOs. It's like they want to present themselves as entities that are here to help the people be healthier, happier, a better environment, more affordable this, more affordable that, taking care of the underserved, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end of the day, I really believe it's all about money.
Well, what's interesting is that, like yourself, when you said in the beginning, you were like, I was trying to just live my business. And some people who are trying to discourage me from even covering politics, because believe me, I get into struggle sessions, I feel like every other day. And it's regarding, for me, it's like, no, I had my little business. Maybe I wasn't running it successfully, but it was still open. And it was still open year up until, let's say, I don't remember, like we closed shy of 9 years of being open for 9 years. And what closed us? COVID, because we were non-essential. So yeah, I have a bone to pick with these folks.
They shut me down. I'm in real estate. They shut me down during COVID. Now, just to give you a little background, I've been working since I'm 6 years old, really. I mean, I was born into a very poor family, very poor situation. So I've had to hustle my entire life. And when they shut me down during COVID, I almost had to file bankruptcy. And I was saying to myself, there's no way that I've been busting my butt since I'm a child, literally, to get out of the projects, to make something of myself, for this government to shut me down and for them to say that housing is not essential. I remember when Cuomo said, you can't sell real estate, but you can go get a job at Costco. And I'm saying, when I sell real estate, maybe I see 10 people a day. I go work at Costco, I'm going to be in contact with tens of thousands of people a week. So it made no sense to me. And this is not the first time that I doubted our government. I doubted our government after 9/11, but COVID was just the point where I was like, yeah, no, this is so not right. And it's those very same people that shut me down during COVID from selling real estate, saying I was not essential, that are now screaming housing is a human right.
Yeah, if you don't do politics, politics will do you, and that's the thing. A lot of people feel like, oh, I don't want to be bothered. One person can't make a difference. Oh, my vote doesn't matter. I'm just one person. All those things that you hear. And if the millions of people that thought that way actually got involved, it would be a different world. We're in the situation that we're in because a lot of people don't care and don't want to be bothered. But in reality, COVID was a perfect example of what happens when you become complacent, not get involved, and just let the government do whatever they feel like doing. You see how horrible it is in the UK. They gave up their guns in 1997. Now thousands of people are being put in jail for Facebook posts. There's no free speech over there. So, the more you just become complacent and allow the government and think the way that you think, just that one, I'm going to repeat that sentence one more time for everybody listening. My one vote doesn't matter. If millions of people who thought the exact, and there are millions of people who think that way, if you actually don't think that way, you would make a huge difference. All those millions of people that think that their one vote doesn't matter combined to millions of votes.
But I think that they also know that the people with common sense are just trying to keep the roof over their heads. They're busy working, right? They're busy raising their families. They're busy trying to make ends meet. They don't have the luxury of paying attention so hard. And it's the people that do have the luxury of following every little thing going on in politics that are going out and voting because they have the time and they have, the luxury of it. The people with the common sense seem to be the people that are too busy working and trying to keep their families and their homes together.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that it doesn't take that much time. You have early voting now. You have absentee ballots. You have.
I'm not talking specifically about the voting. I'm talking about following the politics. But you're right.
Yeah.
There's no excuse to not vote. You have to plan for it. You have to, the early voting is terrific because you can plan, right? If things happen, I have never voted early. Everything's going to change this year because anything can happen on November 4th. I want to make sure that my vote gets in.
Yeah, and I like what you guys said. It's like if you don't do politics, politics will do you. Basically, I was minding my business. I hated politics growing up, just never paid attention until they came from my body. The minute they came from my body, my children's body, to say, we're going to put this in your body, you can't do anything about it, that's when a lion awakened, a beast awakened. And that's really how I got into it. So I like that, I could see that in you, right? That passion that they came for your job, right? It's like this light sparks and you're like, F you, I'm coming for you guys. I'm coming for that seat. And this is the thing, good people, usually good people who just want to hang out with their family and just hang out with their friends, they don't seek power, right? It's always these corrupt scumbags that get into these seats, right? While we're sleeping, while we're hanging out. I'm not and And this is why good people like yourself need to step in the game and get those seats back from these people, because they have a long plan for us. I mean, you look at the Democrat Party right now, right? There's a socialist takeover happening right now. Okay, and they're being funded, I believe, by the CCP. I believe that they're being funded by the World Economic Forum to come in here, destabilize us. It's all about the Great Reset. And this is what we're up against. Okay, so anyway, I went into a tangent, but I want to say to you, if when you become Brooklyn Borough president, what would be the top 2 things you would love to accomplish?
That's a great question. I never narrowed it down to 2. You know, there was a time where not just Brooklyn, but all of New York felt like family. Like if you were a New Yorker, you were family. I want to bring that feeling of unity back. I think we need it. I think that's the nature of New Yorkers. I think, women, sorry, are very like glue. They're skilled at that. They're skilled at keeping families together, bringing people together. So I want to use that. The fact that I'm a woman, the fact that I am very open-minded. I am very diplomatic. It's actually the nature of me, myself, my soul, but also of the work that I've done for the last 20 years. As a real estate agent, I am dealing with people that want opposing goals, right? You have sellers and landlords that want to get the most amount of money, and then you have buyers and tenants that want to pay the least amount of money. And my job for the last 20 years has been bringing those 2 groups of people to a place of okay. Right? At the end of the day, neither party is very happy, but everybody's okay. And so if we could just bring Brooklyn back to a place of okay, I would feel very, very accomplished. So the sense of unity, the sense that we're all going to be okay, that's number 1. And then number 2, gosh, you know what? I want it to be safe again. I think I miss seeing people on their stoops. I miss seeing people connecting on the streets. I miss seeing people taking time to stop and talk to one another. And I feel like a big reason why that's not happening is we just don't feel safe on the street. And so I don't think I can accomplish number 1 without accomplishing number 2. So those 2 things.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, when you mentioned, I immediately thought of all the block parties being a regular thing, and 4th of July with fireworks before they were banned, and being out on the stoop, like pretty much on any given day, kids playing stickball or football in the streets or hockey or whatever. It still happens, but rarely. It's not like, almost every block it used to be like that and growing up in Brooklyn. But I'll pass it to Rose Angel. Hasn't spoken in a while.
Janine, I really love that vision of bringing people together. I'm tired of that one conversation or that assumed one conversation in New York City. And folks like Janine are helping create and make a difference. And so thank you. I know I'm being aware that Mark needs to transition, but I definitely, as we start winding down this part, is there a message that you would like to share with the community? Remind them where they can get to know more of your campaign and where they can contribute.
Sure. The best place to go, I think, is my website, www.janine4brooklyn.com, spelled out FOR. So www.janine4brooklyn.com. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. I'm pretty active on social media. I answer questions. And we could definitely still use donations, volunteers, all of that. We need support because I am a new candidate running against the incumbent. So yeah, please help.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to pass it to Mark.
Yeah, we still have about 3 minutes before we need to wrap up the first half. So, but what you were talking about before, you and Cozy talked about existing candidates, and sometimes people go in with good intentions and then they get corrupt as soon as they're in there, or sometimes they just don't realize that they can't accomplish the things that they want to accomplish. I see a lot of candidates that are running for city council or something, and they promise all of these things that the mayor can't even do. And it's like, oh, I'm going to end abortion and I'm going to do that. Like, you're crazy. Like, do you have any idea that you're people run for district leader and they're promising all these, like,
I've actually been criticized for not promising enough. I've actually been criticized and said, people have said, you don't have a plan. You need to pull a page out of the Mamdani playbook. I have been very conscious about my campaign to not overpromise so that I underdeliver. And I think it's really important to listen to what people want before you come up with a plan for them. So people have criticized me. Oh, you don't have a plan. It's very vague. It's very general. Oh, I have a vision. And you better believe I have a lot of ideas to back that vision, but I am not going to be somebody that overpromises, underdelivers, or blatantly lies to people, because I'm sick of that. That's what we've been getting, and I want to be different. And if that means that I lose, oh, so be it.
Yeah, well, what you promised, the community, bringing people together, that's something that the borough president can do. Like you said before, you weren't running for city council. You're not a legislator. You're not proposing any bills as borough president. That's not within your authority. And voters don't understand that you can't make this drastic difference, and you can't make, I would prefer somebody that's honest and explains that rather than somebody who's promising things that they can't get, because then they're in office and they don't do the things that they promise because it's completely impossible for them to do so.
But you're somebody with common sense, and people without common sense do not understand or appreciate that. Yeah. They want to be lied to.
Well, common sense is not common when you're a communist, and right now we have a communist running for mayor who obviously lacks common sense. But we got about a minute before we wrap up the first half. Is there anything else that you want to say to the people of Brooklyn, specifically on the Brooklyn Free Speech channel?
Yeah. So one of the things, the whole unity thing, and you were saying you missing people, like there are block parties, but there's really there's a less of a sense of a community than there's ever been. I think aside from the safety issue is our housing issue. And the biggest issue that I see, aside from affordability, is that we are 70% renters and 30% homeowners. And we need to flip that. We need to be 70% homeowners and 30% renters so that we have real housing stability and real community growth. Because when people are coming in for a couple of years and then moving out, not only are they messing our whole electoral system, there's no sense of community. People don't take the time to get to know each other or invest in their neighborhoods block by block, community by community. So that's something that really needs to be addressed. We have to give people the path to homeownership. There are programs in place. It can happen. I don't care where you are in life. We have to focus on keeping people here and being less serving to people that are only intending to stay here for a few years to take the best of our city and then run.
Lease to own is one of my campaign things that I wanted to get implemented when I was running for local offices in South Brooklyn. But we're wrapping up the first half of the show. This will air on Brooklyn Free Speech. So for the Brooklyn Free Speech audience, thank you for joining us. We air every Saturday, 2:30 p.m. on Brooklyn Free Speech. And we'll see you next Saturday with another special guest. And every Saturday, 2:30, and our live streams are Monday at 8 p.m. Cafecito break. Check us out live, and we'll see you next time.